invite you into conversations we're having with other nerds and business people about IT. And today I will not be joined by my co-host Brandon. He had a scheduling conflict for this time. So, but our guest today is Patrick from Sweden, a good friend of mine from a Microsoft Partner Advisory Council. We get to see each other once a year in person and many times a year over video chat, but always great conversations with you. So Patrick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks for calling me a nerd, by the way.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but it's like that with us, working with computers and IT services. Of course, we're nerds. So, yeah. Um, my name is Patrik Kekonius. I know that Kekonius is hard to pronounce, but, I'm trying it. But what do I actually do? Yeah, you told all the other guys that we actually did meet through Microsoft, but in my regular day-to-day work, I work as a sales manager. So I'm taking care of some nerds, both with our clients, our customers, but also our employees. And I'm so Microsoft focused. It's just silly.
Yeah.
I live and breathe Microsoft every day. But then we do have other services as well, just to, bring that full offering to our customers, because there are some gaps in the Microsoft
Yep.
environment that you need to fill, and I know that we've been discussing them during the partner council meetings that we had with
Hmm.
them, and I really feel that they're taking in the feedback that we're providing to them, so that's always great to hear. But I try to surround myself with nerds because nerds are pretty smart and they make awesome solutions for our customers. So yeah, I might be
Yeah.
a nerd. Yeah, I might be.
You're on the spectrum. How about that?
Yeah, yeah. Aren't we all?
Big, yes. Well, that's for sure in our space. And thank you for saying your last name because I wasn't going to touch that. No way I was getting through that. But big shout out to the Microsoft team. We've had the privilege for 4 or 5 years of interacting with the Lighthouse team and the small business marketing team and small business engineering team, Chanda's team, and Natalie's team. And I just do want to say publicly that they are the most accessible people at Microsoft we've ever met. They really care. They listen. They have advocated for us
Mm,
repeatedly. Um, and it's a real privilege to get to interact with them regularly. We have these partner summits in once a year where we spend 3 or 4 days just giving them feedback on products and product roadmaps. And we've seen changes come from that. That there's a lot of the features of Business Premium that were designed in those sessions 4 or 5 years
yeah.
ago, where we said, hey, if you can add remote desktop office activation to Business Premium, it's going to fly off the shelves and you replace E3. And they did, and it happened. So big shout out to
That
them. And
yeah, I'm so grateful for all of them. And just looking, back, yeah, a month ago when we were in Seattle the last time, or at least I was. You might have been there, several times, but I get to go there once every year.
it's a
So,
little
but
longer trip for you.
it is, but so worth it. And one thing that I took with me back to my team is just that, because it's feedback sessions and not all feedback is, positive feedback. It might be
Right.
constructive feedback. And we even have, partner colleagues that have been a bit upset with Microsoft for
Hmm.
some reasons. We don't have to go into them today, but just giving that positive feedback to the Lighthouse team, that was amazing. And just how he presented, last year in 2023, when you guys were here, you gave me a list or gave us engineers a list, like these are your top priorities for Lighthouse. And so this is what we've been focusing on this year, and he just ticked them all off. So we
Yeah.
do make an impact with the feedback
Yeah.
that we're giving them. We really do. And I had a conversation with Microsoft yesterday with regards to some SKUs that might do. Um, I just remembered that that was confidential and under NDA, so I shouldn't probably
Good
say anything
catch.
more. But
Good catch.
yeah, but
Yes.
it's really you feel honored by by their presence, and also that they really aim to pick our brains, and
Yeah.
also hearing that customer feedback coming from the especially the SMB segment.
Yeah. Yeah, because Microsoft can be very enterprise focused as a whole. They have
Yeah.
teams focused on the SMB segment, but they think enterprise, and so it's so great to talk with people who are really invested in our space. And then the other big thing about the pack is all these partners. Partners from around the world, India
Yeah.
and Brazil, and all
We
over
have
Europe.
Germany, all
Yeah,
over Europe. Yeah.
and
Canada, young
Canada,
guys.
and the opportunity to spend time with you guys is always, to me, is almost more valuable than the conversations with Microsoft, because we get to learn from each other, and I'm
Yeah.
always fascinated by the different dynamics. Sometimes we'll compare notes of the guys in India and Brazil are playing in a different world. The rates we charge for service here in the US, are astronomically higher than the rates they charge in India and Brazil. And like the currency fluctuations cause major issues for them on just selling licenses. They have a different set of dynamics, and Microsoft's actually really listening to them in a really cool way and building some solutions that help them. But through those conversations, you grow these relationships and friendships with people like you. And so it's always fascinating to me to learn about different markets and different dynamics. So tell us more about the Swedish market. Are you guys an MSP? Do you guys consider yourselves an MSP,
Yeah.
or where do you think you land? So you are an MSP. What are the interesting dynamics in the Swedish market?
Looking back a couple of years ago, because I think that inflation, it hit us all. It doesn't matter if you were in Brazil or India or the US or Sweden, but the Swedish economy is heavily dependent on export. I think all people around the world knows about IKEA,
Yes.
Volvo. So we're an export dependent country. And if you were to look in Europe, our closest friends are probably Germany as well. So if Germany is performing well, Sweden is also typically performing well. But both Sweden and Germany have been struggling for the last 2 or 3 years due to inflation, due to the war in Ukraine, which affected our energy prices as well.
Yeah.
So we had massive inflation, and we do have our own currency as well. We're pretty proud of the Swedish krona, etc., but it can get us into trouble because
Sure.
we're export dependent.
Yes.
I'm guessing that my former colleagues at Volvo, because every Swede has worked at Volvo for at least a couple of years, they're probably thinking that that our currency, if it's low valued, it's good for them, but because they tend to sell more in that case. But then we all around the world, we come back to the US dollar, because you
Yeah.
compare that to the dollar or to the euro. And since our currency has been poorly behaving as well, everything, it doesn't really help the inflation rate. So every commercial goods or services that we tend to buy has just become more pricey all the time.
Okay.
And if you start looking at the Nordic countries or Sweden in particular, we had the rising interest rates as well. To sort of like, that's the first measure to tackle inflation. All the central banks knows about that, and it's also funny because you have your press conference from the central bank in America, and they're pretty good, pretty balanced. Good people, good, both men and women working there. And then, you wait like a week, and then it's the EU that, presents how they're seeing or viewing the economy and presenting their rates. And then Sweden sits there and goes like, yeah, okay, so the US said that, and the EU said that, but we have our own currency, and we're, totally independent, but we're going to follow them. So it's a pretty basic game there. But what happened, if you put like Microsoft into this equation, we had pretty basic, rates all across the globe that was affecting our friends in, Brazil and
Yes.
also in India, for example, emerging markets, and was pretty good for us Swedes, we got good prices. We even had the Danes and the Norwegians and the Finnish guys, buying subscriptions and services, Microsoft services from us in Sweden, just because of, benefits from the currency. But then Microsoft, they didn't find that out. They're smart at Microsoft, but they said that, you can't have a country like Sweden where you have people coming to just to buy your business premium licenses or whatever licenses. So they started to adjust our price level. And looking back, I think it was 2023, they announced that we're going to raise your prices by 15%. Okay, so 15%, that's a pretty steep price increase.
Yes.
Which led to that, all of us partners thought, we're going to be smart here. We have the new commercial platform, new commerce experience, and it's such an experience. It's massive. It's so good. Now, we can have a debate about the MTE, but what happened was that a lot of partners started talking to their customers saying that, if we tie your subscriptions now for a year, you'll effectively avoid that price increase, at least for a year. Now, we're being good friends here with our customers.
Yes.
And the customers, they did like that. Who wouldn't like to avoid, a price increase by 15%? But what happened then was that we tied our customers like the 31st of March. And then Microsoft in 2024 and 1st of February announced another price increase by 10%. So, when we were trying to be that friendly guy with our customers, what actually happened was that their prices for their existing SKUs went up by 25%.
Wow.
And even though Sweden, I think we're known for being, early adopters. We do like technology and what technology can help us with, or what technology can do to innovate, the services that we provide to our customers to make a living. But there's always going to be that price point where, this is just too expensive nowadays.
Right.
And the thing is that, Sweden is also a country that does love Microsoft. We have Microsoft in everything. Yeah, speaking to clients going like, no, we don't actually use Microsoft at all. You don't? Yeah, we have a small server and it runs on Windows servers. So, but basically, so we have Microsoft in our whole environment here. And when you raise those prices by 25%, people are going to start looking for, is there options for me to migrate somewhere else? And that's a pretty tough deal for them, because there's, if you invested in Microsoft for the last, 10, 20 years, that's, you have your employees, they're used to it, they got used to working with teams during the pandemic, and, they like their emails, they like their PowerPoints, and they don't want to switch over to Google Workspace. But it's a tough decision for them sometimes. So I believe that I also spoke to Microsoft about that during the partner council meeting, because I'm interested as well to see other economies. Sweden is a micro economy in the big world, but are we the only ones being affected? Because we have unemployment rates that are basically at the same level as we had during the 90s, when we had a big financial crisis going on in Sweden, which had to do with our real estate market that basically crashed. So we had an interest rate just for a couple of hours that was 500%. It was insane. And weirdly enough, I was like 8 years by that time. But you have your parents, you have all your old relatives, talking about that.
Yep.
And so we have basically the same unemployment rate as we had during the 90s, and we also are seeing the same level of bankruptcies in Sweden as we had during the 1990s or during the Lehman Brothers crash, for example. And I know that I picked it up from the German partner colleagues as well, because as I said previously, Swedes, we listen to Germany, the Germans decide. And they were actually having the same issues in Germany as well, seeing a lot of bankruptcies, seeing a lot of unemployment rates going up. And, since we're working as an MSP or Microsoft solution partner, a lot of our services is charged by, a dollar sign or a krona sign per user per month.
Yeah.
So if our clients are struggling, we're gonna
You feel
we're gonna
that.
struggle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna feel that.
Yeah.
And I believe the same thing was that during the pandemic, I had a lot of, close friends and relatives saying that, you guys, you're in IT, you make tons of money and, the IT industry is just booming. Yeah, it was during the pandemic. Microsoft was doing all right. I think Adobe, Salesforce, all the other guys were doing
Hmm.
pretty well. Uh, but again, going back to that, we charge per user per month,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we were back then, we were quite heavily invested in the restaurant industry. We had a big
Oh
client,
man.
yeah. And I still remember that when it really hit Sweden, I got a call from them saying that, yeah, Patrick, you're, you're really focused. You have all your signed agreements, but these are restaurant people. They're just, they're not going to pay you. It doesn't matter which type of paper you have that you can throw at their face. They're trying to make their business survive. And how do you get your business to survive if you don't have any customers coming to your restaurant? Yeah,
Yeah.
you cut your costs, and you're a
Yeah.
big cost for them.
Yeah.
So that was pretty scary. So even though the tech industry as a whole probably did really well during the pandemic,
Yeah.
and we helped a lot of our clients out with, Teams rollouts and how to work with teams and how to shift your background and how to do Teams channels, etc. That was sort of like boring after a while, getting all those questions. But we did really help a portion, at least, of the employees to work safely from home, which was
Yeah.
kind of nice.
Yeah. No, I think that that connection between MSPs and small business is so deep. People don't realize how much, we're a trailing indicator of how those small businesses are doing, and the macro things don't always affect us the same.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that sounds like a lot of headwinds. You mentioned three layers of challenges. You've got
Mm.
um, just the Corona performance. So there's
Mm.
there's one challenge of things. Your money doesn't go as far as it used to.
Mm.
Then you throw in inflation that everybody's feeling with. So now
Mm.
things are just getting more expensive. But now you've got that compounded with your performance of your currency, and then
Mm.
you throw on top of it, Microsoft adjusting prices, and I know that's
Mm.
been big for a lot of the non-US partners of their Microsoft's really trying to take out currency issues from their pricing. They're like, hey, we're charging in dollars and your
Mm.
pricing is going to match. If you have
Yeah.
major inflation in your country or your currency is being debased, we're going to raise our prices to make sure we keep making our money. And that's a lot of headwind on a business that's deeply rooted in Microsoft.
It really is, and I spoke to both some guys in Dublin and also in Redmond about the price increases that we had 2023 and 2024, and I get what they're saying to me. We introduced the Office 365 platform, 15 years ago, and
Right.
what have we done? We just added value, more value, and even more value, and we haven't, touched the pricing level. So I can understand that, and I had a couple of conversations as well with our clients. Going back, how was your SKUs or your subscriptions set up, and what did you get for that money 10 years ago, and look where it is right now. And
Yes.
they see that point as well, but the timing was a bit bad for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
That's rough.
yeah, because I believe, and I'm just talking about all the different, partner colleagues that we have during the partner council, but hearing them and when they're talking about their customers, they're so invested in their customers.
Yep.
You can
Yes.
just feel that atmosphere, when they're positive or when they're bringing constructive feedback back to Microsoft. It's their customer's voice that they're coming with, and they're
Yeah.
so passionate about that as well. So that's amazing. And I can see Microsoft struggling with that, being a bit enterprise heavy focused or whatever you call it. But still, as I spoke to them, yeah, a month ago, saying that, you need to be in that SMB space. It's
Yeah.
in the SMB space that which innovates, that's where the magic happens. And, talking about another Swedish company, or founded here in Sweden, Spotify. They didn't start off one day and said, we should do like a Napster service, but make it legal. And the second day they were 10,000 employees. No,
Right.
they started off as a very small business, or a startup became a very small business, an SMB, a scale up, and then an enterprise. So I love being in that space. Microsoft also needs to be in that space, because that's where the innovation comes, and that's where you get all your, the happy feelings that I have every day from talking to our clients, finding that solution that actually brings value to them and brings value to their clients. That's that's a really good feeling, and that's something that my wife doesn't really understand when I come back home late, because I've been working with my customers instead of staying with her
Yeah.
and the kids back home. So,
Yeah.
but you're passionate, and
Yes. Yeah.
that's
Well,
important as well.
because as you know, in this SMB space, these become friends, and you're invested in
Mm,
their business. And maybe I'm not in the construction space, but I have customers that I've worked with for
mm,
15 years in that space. And I watched them when they were a 5-person company in a little house, and now they're
mm,
a 400-person company in a beautiful big office, and they're crushing
mm,
it. And, when they have to contract because of the economy and they're letting 10-15% of their staff go, you've met some of those people who no longer have a job, and you know about their kids. And
mm.
so there's like these layers of investment in these businesses that we have. And um yeah, I
Yeah,
feel you.
and also if you do like a really good job, you sort of like, you become friends. It's still a professional relationship with your customer,
Yes.
but you're on a friendly basis. And if they were to let go, or if they move on to a different company, if you've been, playing your cards right with them, being friendly, being, service minded, there's so many callbacks that we get from those
Yeah.
people, saying that, I started in this new role at this new company, give me like 2 or 3 weeks, but after that, you're more than welcome to come and help us.
Oh, wow.
It's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just a receipt for you doing a great job. And I
Right.
feel like, all the people in that pack, they're doing that every day
Yeah.
in different
Yeah.
markets with, different struggles that we do have. But um, looking back the last month, I was more struggling with the economy. But it's it's nice weather outside right now. It's when we record this is Friday. You are having a Friday morning, and I'm having a Friday afternoon. The sun is setting in Sweden. It's just beautiful, and I can see that, light in the tunnel. That, we're seeing inflation going down. We're
Yeah.
seeing, the Swedish central bank actually pushing down the interest rates right now. We want
Yes.
to go from deflation to, we want to grow our economy again. We want to make those political incentives. So I believe that, it's so, when you've been in business for so many years, you're always going to go through these, ups and downs. But I think we've been at the bottom, and we're actually climbing right now.
That's
So
great.
yeah, but
Well, and it's always, oh, go ahead.
no, but and then, you're having your elections coming up,
We are.
and that's
Yep.
probably going to affect us in Sweden in some way. I don't know why, but it definitely will.
Yeah. No, the elections affect the economy in strange ways. And as you
Mm,
say, we're recording this just a couple days away from the election, and then we'll get to have 2 months of debate after the election as we squabble
mm,
over it here. And but it does seem to really impact the election, and of course the holidays are coming too.
mm,
So there's just weird business dynamics where there's a lot of people who have projects to do, want to make
mm,
changes to their business, but they're going to wait. They're going to wait and watch what happens with the election, and then they're gonna
mm,
enjoy their holidays. And I think January will have an opportunity to really drive some opportunities across the business sector. But it's definitely an interesting time of year.
Yeah, it
So
really is. And all of us, the rest of us that don't live in America, we're watching you guys and we're watching you so closely because we know that that election is going to affect us, but we don't know how it's going to affect us. And
yeah.
I'm just, made the best candidate win. And hopefully that will boost our economy in some way and boost my customers. And hopefully Microsoft won't raise their prices again next year.
Oh man, yeah, for sure. Well, let's change topics a little bit.
Mhm.
And you guys are one of the MSPs. Obviously you're in the partner council, so you're deeply invested there. But you guys have gone deep on the Microsoft stack, the SMB stack, the business premium stack, and I love that license. I think that license is a underutilized, underrecognized value in this space. I mean, it's just incredible what they built into that stack. What are the things you love about that set of licenses, and what are the kind of things that it's driving for your customers right now?
Um, Looking at the business segment, if you're talking about business basic, business standard, and business premium, I love how they are set up. And I was actually asked the question from Microsoft, how could we innovate this and how could we, change up the SKUs, etc. And it's really hard when you've been focusing on them for the last 10 years
Yes.
because they provide that mix to our customers that is so good. You have your guys working in the field, the guys that are actually producing value to our customers. They can use Business Basic because they're on mobile devices or iPads, or they're sharing some weird old laptop. And then you have those clients that I feel like we did a really good motion last year of getting people AI ready, getting
Hmm.
the SMB segment ready for Copilot, for example, and actually lifting our especially business standard clients up to business premium. I
Yeah.
thought that was a good motion, and we still have a lot to do. Because one thing that I keep remembering Microsoft about is that we're a Microsoft Cloud Service Provider Tier 1 Direct, which means that we don't have a Pax8 or we don't
Right.
have a TD Synnex or someone else to turn to with all our questions. We need to figure them out ourselves, which is fun sometimes, a bit frustrating sometimes as well, but it gives us deep insights to how we could produce that mix to our customers. And just that mix, I think that's what customers like. They can have multiple different SKUs. You could have business premium for your sales guys or for your managing board of directors, and you get that whole security dialogue going with your customers as well. And that's something that I advocated to Microsoft as well, that Microsoft in our view has always stood up for security. Microsoft equals security and productivity, and it's just now, according to me, that's my view. It's just in the last couple of years that they become more innovative, producing AI services and making the services or their apps look a bit better, because Google had that space before. You could see,
Right.
we're using this tool, it's Microsoft, and it's really secure and it's really productive, but it's not that fun to work with. And Microsoft is taking that space right now, which I do like. And it's just it's a good set of SKUs for the
Hmm.
SMB segment, and I believe that this is something that helps them out every day. And since the introduction of AI to the SMB segment, and that was less than a year ago, I think,
Yep. Yep.
that's also, it's not a headache for them, but it takes a lot of training, a lot of education, understanding,
Hmm.
because I believe that what Microsoft did with Copilot was that they marketed it so well. It was just
Yes.
insane how good that was marketed. But when you market something really, really well, that they did, at least what I hear from some of our clients is that once they get that AI service, as you can just lay back, it's going to fix all your
It's gonna do your
problems.
job for you.
Yeah, it's going to do your job, and it doesn't really. It takes a lot of training. So yeah, I'm just happy to actually be in that space and being able to provide that, and also comparing to the enterprise SKUs. I believe that business premium is such a great
Oh, it's
subscription.
huge. It's
Yeah.
huge. Yeah, I mean, for $10 a month less than E3, you get
Mm,
10-15% more capability. I mean, it's just staggering how much is in business premium. It's amazing.
mm.
Um, what's your thoughts on Defender for Endpoint? Are you using that as your antivirus, as your EDR? How's that going? What are your thoughts on that product?
Yeah, we are using it, and since I'm not a tech guy, or I hang around tech guys and tech nerds and trying to become one myself. But I'm looking at it from a sales perspective, and just talking to our customers, because everybody's they've been trained that you need to have some sort of antivirus running on your laptops, and then you go through that with them and say that, okay, so you basically have something today, and do you know how that works? Because most the antivirus software that you have today is dependent on these are known viruses that once I get updated, I get a new list and I can go and look for these ones. And then I tell them about Defender instead. That's saying that that's more innovative, coming from Microsoft as well, and coming from Microsoft security department. This is really great. So, and just compare price levels again, going back to that economy again, saying that you probably paid this much for the antivirus that you have today. Wouldn't it be better if you pick from Microsoft, because you already invested in Microsoft, and if I can tell you that this is actually better than you're using today, and you get that on the same invoice, not two invoices, etc., and your whole company becomes more secure. But I believe in the sales process, I don't talk that much about Defender as a standalone add-on for our business basic or our business standard clients, because I usually bring that up if I can't make a sale on business premium. So then
Yeah,
and you know, us in the industry, we don't want to scare our customers by talking a lot about cybersecurity. We want them to feel safe. We want them to be safe as well, and I think that's our priority. But using security as a sales tactic, at least for me, it doesn't really work, because I don't like scaring people or talking about
sure, sure.
yeah, what could happen. But getting them to that basic level. So, but we do use Defender in our servers as well, in our data center. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's a
Mm,
great product. When we were evaluating SOCs a couple years ago, one of
mm,
the questions I'd ask these companies that are, full-time security companies, said, hey, if you're, you know, all else being equal, what EDR would you run if you could choose one?
mm,
And they said Defender. It had gotten the security nerds' attention. They liked it better than the CrowdStrikes and the Sentinel-1s, which is amazing to me.
mm.
So I think it's really come a long way in the last couple of years, and adds a lot of value. So it's pretty cool to see.
And
Um,
it's also good for us partners to see that when they're doing independent research, or that
mhm.
Microsoft Defender is always going to be scoring at the highest level,
Yes.
which gives us confidence as well, or at least
Yeah.
give me confidence, because I'm used to working with our employees are great. They're really tech savvy, and they know stuff, and and the scariest part is when our office, or at the office that I'm sitting in, when it goes quiet. That's not something that I like, because that typically means that something is happening, and I like people sharing, talking, sharing ideas, etc. But using services like Defender, it helps us out and gets us in a better mood.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you've ever had to do any threat hunting or incident response in Defender,
Mm,
it's amazing how it lays out the data. It's just incredible.
yeah.
Let's change gears again.
Mm,
Um, One of the most fascinating things to me at the pack this year was the challenges partners are having with their partner relationship with Microsoft. Um, Microsoft went from having this gold and silver concept a couple years ago, and they moved this
Mm,
over to solutions designation. And 5 years ago, that pack, if you had asked, probably 25 out of 25 partners were managed. 3 years
mm,
ago, and managed by Microsoft. They had a partner
mm,
development manager invested in their business. 3 years ago, maybe 10 out of the 25 were managed. And I think at this last pack, it was 1 or 2 out of 25, maybe 3 or 4, because we did have some larger like distributors in the room. So
yeah.
they're a different equation, but most of us aren't managed. And as you talked about, Microsoft's clearly moving a lot of that management layer from their PDMs, and they don't want to work as much directly with the partners. They want the
Mm,
Pax 8s of the world to work with partners, the distributors
yeah.
to be that layer. Um, and you're in that very unique class that a lot of the high end MSPs are, which is you're a direct provider. You're not buying through Pax 8,
Mm,
you buy direct from Microsoft. Um,
mm,
but as they move those gold levels from gold to this new solutions partner designation, um, it was surprising to me that out of 25 partners in the room, 23 put their hand up and said, I'm really struggling to maintain our designation. So
yeah.
talk me through that, because I know that was something for you that's a big concern for you.
Yeah, it was, and it was actually a touchy subject as well during the pack, because I could just feel like when I feedback Microsoft on that subject, I could feel like, why am I, I'm 40 plus, why am I so sensitive about this? Because I could hear actually my voice,
Yeah.
shifting a bit, and I believe that that has to do with that, us MSPs or us as Microsoft partners, we invested so much into that partnership, and I know that they invest a lot in us partners
Yes.
as well. But
Yes.
for us as entrepreneurs or managing directors or anything like that, that has been a journey for the last 10, 15, 20 years for some partners. And you celebrate once you went from being a part of the Microsoft Partner Network and managing to get that silver badge or becoming gold. I know I bought jackets for all of our employees and printed with Microsoft Gold Partner on
Oh,
it.
that's awesome.
And yeah, and then you start looking for that second target, becoming multiple gold partner and then becoming managed partner, and they shifted. And the issue that I was seeing is that they bring all of us to Seattle once a year, and they're having regular talks with us, all of us together every month, and individual talks with us each month as well. And they're really focusing on the SMB segment. At least that's what they're saying. But they're giving us mixed emotions when they're the targets that we need to meet
Hmm.
nowadays.
Hmm.
They're not SMB targets.
No.
They're enterprise targets. And I know that we were one of the partners. We were managed by Western Europe until this summer. And every summer, you know, I call it silly season because you never know what
Yeah.
happens.
It's the Microsoft into the Microsoft fiscal year in June and July when they start a new year and they
Yeah.
move everything. They change everything with the new fiscal year.
And I don't have a problem with, reorganizing or doing stuff in a different way because
Right.
it usually they do have a plan. It usually turns out great for us partners. But, I was on parental leave for 6 months. And when I came back, of course, I'm a business owner. I needed to work during those 6 months, but I wasn't, super focused on looking at our targets and how we were performing. I was a bit interested during the summer just to see how our Microsoft year had performed, and we probably did 400% over our targets in modern work, and didn't really meet our targets in Azure, but a lot of partners were struggling with that, and so I was happy coming back from parental leave until I logged in and saw that we're not even on the map
Yeah.
anymore. And we are a partner that they invite to Seattle every year. I'm so thrilled. to come there to speak to Microsoft and speak to my partner peers. But I was just struck by that we might not meet the targets anymore.
Yeah.
And we're a partner that they speak to on a regular basis.
Hmm.
That our numbers are really great, but and also being that a direct tier one partner, that we don't go through Pax8 or TD SYNNEX or someone else or Arrow, and we're quite proud of that as well, that
Sure.
we
Sure.
done that we're
Yeah.
independent. And I just got that feeling that this is aimed towards me, that I should move, that I should join hands with Ingram or TD SYNNEX or Pax8 or whatever, and not and become a tier two instead, because otherwise we might not be partners anymore.
Yeah.
And for me, that was just it was a sad moment, and I
Hmm.
believe that also Microsoft acknowledged to all of us, at least that were in that room, that they're struggling a bit with the
Yeah.
targets that they set out. And hopefully that's not written in stone, as we say here in
Yeah.
Sweden. So that
Yeah.
might change, hopefully. But I know that I written a couple of emails after we came back, just to make sure that can we get a bit more attention on this, because it would be sad for me personally, and I think it would be sad for the whole group as a whole if we're not reaching those targets anymore
Yeah.
of becoming a designated solution partner.
Yeah, and I think there was a couple of things that really struck me, because that room is 25 of the best partners in the world. And I know,
Mm,
well, if you and I have been in this space a long time, you talk to partners,
mm,
partners that get it and partners that don't. And
mm,
the fact that 25 of the top partners in the world, 23 of them are really struggling with their solutions designation.
mm,
And we're the company I work for, we're at a different scale. We're 600 employees, and so we have this ability to kind of, some of these designations are a little easier because we have just this volume. And as you mentioned,
mm,
it's aimed at the bigger partners, is really what they've
mm,
done. Um,
mm,
but even us, I'm surprised that we haven't been able to achieve some of the goals, because a lot of these goals are to drive sales. It's like new
mm,
business. You have to show new business. But I know that partners like you guys, partners
mm.
like our friend Nigel in Northern Ireland,
Yeah.
you guys are Microsoft focused. Your customers are fully in on business premium. You're using Defender. You have drank the Kool-Aid. You sell the Kool-Aid. You're
Mm,
the Kool-Aid man.
mm,
And from Microsoft's perspective, because you're not adding new customers and just showing this incredible growth, you're just really doing a great job with existing customers. They're like, well, we don't see any
mm.
upside from you. Um, I think it's really hard. I think it's really, like you said, it can be really discouraging in that moment.
Yeah, it can be. And then all journeys are going to be ups and downs, and this
Sure.
might be a bit of a down, but there's always going to be light in that tunnel
Yep.
somewhere, and hopefully that's not a train coming. So I'm trying to stay positive, but
Yeah.
I've been trying with so many different angles, and I know that Microsoft is working on this as well, because they don't want to see us go,
Right.
or any of the 25 that are in that pack. But there's also stuff that Microsoft can do. And what I've been investigating is with their leads generation program as well, because hearing from the guys that are actually talking to, you know, hopefully not our customers, but all the other ones out there. But it's also they're also saying that the economy could be better. A lot of people that I know that we had a competition internally a couple of years back that is saying that, I can close a Microsoft lead within 20 minutes, you know, and, we were having competitions between our delivery team saying that, if you can close that in 20 minutes, I could probably deliver it within 20 minutes as well. And that was super happy. But the guys working with the Microsoft Leads program, they're also saying that the economy is pretty slow, at
Yeah.
least in Europe. And we're
Yeah.
seeing longer lead times as well. People are, and I know the $25. That's probably what a Starbucks coffee costs in Seattle or something like that. It's not that much money, but even at those rates, people are um, they're pausing.
Yeah.
They're pausing
Yeah.
their decisions, and this was not something that we were seeing a couple of years ago. If you were spot on, if you had the right solutions and you had the right pitch to our clients, they would
Yeah.
head on. They were
Yeah.
just go ahead. And
Well, I think
now we can, yeah. Mm.
the other difference is that there's saturation. A lot of the partners are already on, customers are already on these licenses. So you don't get
Yeah.
that, hey, I sold them business premium, they weren't on it. It's a lot of the good customers are already there. We are going to have some guests in the coming weeks that I think will
Okay.
help with this. We're bringing in Justin Slagle from Partner Masters on. I think I mentioned him to you.
Yeah.
They help Nitec in Ireland, Northern Ireland, get theirs back pretty quickly. But it gets done with a lot of paperwork. You got to follow all the Microsoft processes, PAL tagging, CPOR claims. You put a lot of work into that, and it's a lot of work. You can drive a lot of this back. But I'm looking forward to talking to Justin, and I'd like to get Nigel on here to talk about their experience. But I think it's important just to say that, hey, if you're struggling with this, lots of people are. There are some options, but it's difficult. And I was struck by the same thing as you were, that Microsoft acknowledged that the program is broken, but they also acknowledge that it's not likely to be quickly fixed because they're having engineering challenges. And that was maybe another discouraging piece. And I hope they can figure some of that out, because I think they do need some SMB standards, and I think they know it. So
yeah, I know. And it's also, look at, or if you dig down to those KPIs that are, that ends up us having a partner designation or not, it's just that adding net new clients. And we had a customer meeting with a new client today, me and one of my technicians, and we were going through everything. And he said, we have an IMAP solution that we set up in Germany, and now we need to move to Microsoft 365, and we're so sorry that it's taken us so long to get to this decision. And I told him, no worries, I'm just happy for a new client. And I thought, hopefully it's a new client as well. But apparently he's been trying to fix this himself, which means that there's so many tenants which uses his domain. It's not going to be a net new client. It's going to be a net new client to us, but we don't get the recognition for that.
Yes.
And, just looking from Microsoft's perspective, they've been in operation since the 1970s. Are there any existing customers that they haven't talked to, that haven't used their services? Like I said, the Swedish market consists of 99.9% SMB customers. We love Microsoft. Everyone is using Microsoft. How could I find a net new client?
Right.
Yeah, I can find a startup, but they don't exist in the economy that we have right now. But if I find them, I wouldn't get recognized because there are only 2 employees.
Yes.
It's something wrong with the model.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, Patrick, appreciate you making time to chat with me today. I have so much respect for you and your business. Love getting to chat with you. So thank you for sharing. Hopefully we'll have you on again and someday in the future, and you'll tell us about how the economy bounced back and you guys found some amazing way to navigate it, because I'm confident you guys will. But thank you for your insights and your time today.
Yeah, and thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm just super thrilled about being here, and also getting a chance to chat with you, Nathan, because I admire you a lot.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's fun to chat about this stuff, and for our listeners, if you're enjoying the podcast, leave a like in your favorite podcast app, or rate us. That really helps kind of people find the podcast. Follow us on LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn channel, and I post it. So if you want to find Nathan Taylor on LinkedIn, and then find our podcast and just share episodes you like. Brandon and I are doing this as a passion project. There's no money behind it. We're not monetizing this. We just love talking about technology and bringing people like Patrick on, and want to continue to do it. And hopefully, it's valuable to people. And as we grow our listenership, then more people can hear, and we can have continued conversations. So
yeah, of course. But you were saying you're not doing this for the money. Where am I supposed to send my invoice
to? I'll send you that letter here shortly, and you can send it to a PO box somewhere in Alaska.
Thank you so much. That's what friends are for,
That's it. Awesome. Well, thank you, Patrick, and stay warm, and we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
All right. Thanks. Bye.